I went to a public school system that was located in an area with residents who were mostly Christian and conservative, and these ideas heavily reflected themselves in my sex education. My sex education was abstinence only, meaning that abstinence was the only way of contraception taught in my education. This is relevant because many of us have attended sex education in middle school and high school and know what it's like to have inadequate sex education. Today, I will be talking about the problem of inadequate sex education, the bias that causes it, and some solutions for it. The problem of inadequate sex education is accompanied by many issues. A lack of sex education in general, its inconclusive nature, and the sexual risk behaviors that come with it. In the following statistics from the CDC, in 2015, middle schools in the United States only covered 4 to 46% of topics. And in high schools in 2015, the lowest percentage went to Arizona at 21% of topics covered. It is also not inclusive. The CDC reported in 2017 that the LGBTQ+ community was underrepresented in sexual education. They said, quote, "It is a substantial risk for serious health outcomes for these individuals." Sexual risk factors are another issue. The CDC reported that half of the STDs reported in 2017 were from 15 to 24-year-olds. 46% of sexually active high school students reported that they did not use a condom the last time they had sexual intercourse. 180,000 babies were born out of teen pregnancies in 2018. There was another study done by the National Institute of Health in Nigeria with a randomly selected school of 24 students that exhibited an increase in sexual risk behaviors. These behaviors increased after an intervention of the sex education in these schools. The cause of this problem is mainly from abstinence-only education and bias. In 2014, Tufts Medical School reported that 27 states required abstinence-only education. And they also reported that 41 states and the District of Columbia were not required to teach accurate, up-to-date information. A Harvard University study concluded that funding only increases for abstinence-only education, and that is proven to be ineffective and dangerous to women and girls. Another cause is political and religious bias. David Washburn wrote in 2019 about an issue in California relating to an addition of LGBTQ+ education into the sex education curriculum. The conservative and Christian residents of this area said, quote, "This sexualizes our students," and, quote, "a part of an LGBTQ+ agenda." The People for the American Way wrote an article about religious rights political groups. It was found that these groups censor contraception in their education and push the agenda of abstinence until marriage on many U.S. students. There is a solution, or multiple solutions, to this issue. Improving education curriculum, as reported by Psychology Today and the American Academy of Pediatrics, states that by the American Academy of Pediatrics, parents should regularly talk to their students about sexual activities and normalize these conversations to make it more comfortable. Gender identities and sexual orientation should also be talked about in sex education around the nation. and, of course, abolishing abstinence-only education overall. There are some advocacy groups that could also be great solutions. There's a group called Amaze, which is an organization that leads fun animated videos about sex education for kids. There's another organization called the Condom Collective, which is an organization that distributes 1 million Trojan brand condoms to colleges around the nation. Another organization is known as the Federation of Sex Education, which is put in place to help improve and make sex education more accurate with the times. Today, we discuss the problem of inadequate sex education, the bias that causes it, and solutions that could be taken in order to improve it. I will now close with a quote by Dr. Leslie Cantor, Vice President of Education at Planned Parenthood. She said, quote, "Sex education is essential to adolescents' overall health and well-being. The fact that young people in so many states are being deprived of information critical to their sexual health is unacceptable." Thank you.